Let's start with foreign affairs. Miatta, a lot of comment both in the cartoons and in the columns. Who, in your view, gets it right?
So I'm probably going to side with a combination of Alistair Burt and Kevin Maguire, who are both sort of counselling for caution. So, you know, this is really, really dangerous and precarious situation we find ourselves in. And for me, the most terrifying moment was watching the crowds at Soleimani's funeral, which shows the depth of feeling in Iran.
Well, they're still there today, it has to be said.
And so, you know, it's hard to see that the Iranian government won't want to respond and show force in return for the assassination. And I think in this, partly because it's not clear what the strategy is, it's not clear what precipitated the move on the part of Donald Trump, I don't think we can cosy up too closely to him. I think we need to have some distance because actually the act is probably illegal, but beyond that, what is your strategy? What is your endpoint? What are you trying to do at the end of this? So rushing to hug the Americans too closely, to hug Donald Trump too closely, I think is a mistake. And I think saying that actually we need a bit of distance is probably right on this one.
So what should Boris Johnson do? I mean, he's back now, he's
exactly what he's done.
Well, so I think he is right to say that we need to de-escalate. I think the British government are right to be talking about the need for dialogue. I think the difficult balance for them is how seriously would the Iranians take that if you don't show at least some sense of caution? You know, there's been no rebuke of Donald Trump's action at all. I mean, it's very hard because the US is our allies in this. But, you know, for me, successive American governments have seen Soleimani as a threat, but have chosen not to act in this way because their judgment was that the risk of this, the escalation, the threat in the Middle East, how destabilising it was far worse than having him around creating the troubles that he's created. And so, you know, I think it's quite hard for them to play the role that I think they're trying to play of talking about dialogue, trying to bring both sides around the table, if they're seen to be so closely aligned with where the US are. You know, when Dominic Raab over the weekend said, you know, we're on the same page. And actually there's no sense that, yes, the motivations we might have some sympathy with, but it was completely the wrong act, and it was probably an illegal act as well.
It is, as we can see from the cartoonists, all of them, you know, several of them depicting Boris Johnson in his Hawaiian shirt, having been on holiday during the start of this and not having cut it short. We know some prime ministers in the past, Margaret Thatcher, Theresa May, used to make a point of being on board. It's going to be an image that's going to endure, I suspect, but will it actually be a negative one, do you think?
Well, look, is it surprising that Boris didn't quite gauge the sort of severity of the moment and cut his holiday short? Maybe not. I don't know. I don't hold that against him necessarily. I think what's more important is how he responds when he's back. And, you know, it is a moment where he must show leadership, not just in the, you know, at home, but leadership in the international stage. So I think it's a real test for him and a real test for him to show that actually I am a prime minister. I'm not, you know, Boris the joke, Boris the cad. It's a real test.